Hi there, my name is Aldair Domingos and I'm going to be configuring this lab for today. So if you don't know me or if you don't know this channel, this is Aldair IT Networking YouTube channel, and I've been posting some videos on networking, but the most of the videos that I've been posting are in Portuguese because I do speak Portuguese natively, but I also speak English. So for today I decided to make this video, but I decided to record the video in English. Actually, this video has gotten a new version or an old version of the video in Portuguese, and I just decided to record the video again, but this time it is going to be in English because I want to reach you guys that do speak English, because I know that not everyone that comes to my YouTube channel speak Portuguese. Most of you guys speak English, so I want to do this for you guys and exchange knowledge with you guys. So if you like video like this, I just want you to give me a comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, or even hit the like button for sure. I'm going to like it. And without further ado, let's get it started. So for today, we're gonna configure this networking lab, and as you can see here, this networking lab has got so many devices. So I'm going to use this multi-layer switch here, and this switch this layer 2 switch here, and I have got a server here. I've also got the clients machines, and the main goal of this video is like configuring the whole topology and making the topology the topology smooth in a way that all of these computers here can share informations between each other. So the idea is configuring this lab in a way that all these clients machine can communicate with the server, or even can communicate with them, or even can communicate with all of each computer here. So for this topology, I'm going to use, or the configurations I'm going to have to do is, I'm gonna configure DHCP, VLAN, and interrouting. So I'm going to use DHCP because I want these devices, this client machine, to receive IP address from this server, because the server is going to be the one responsible to give IP addresses to our client machines. And I'm going to use VLANs because VLAN stands for virtual local area network, and I'm going to create and use VLANs in order to separate the broadcast domains. And I'm going to use interrouting because I want information from this network or this subnet to go to the subnets. I mean, I want this computer here to communicate to this computer here, or I want all of this computer to connect together and communicate and share informations, even though they are making part of different broadcast domain, even though they are not at the same or in the same subnet. So without further ado, let's get it going. Let's get it started. And I'm going to start by configuring the switch, the layer 2 switch. What I'm going to do, configuring the layer 2 switch, I'm going to first click on the switch. Now, as you can see, I'm going to go to the CLI, and here in the CLI is where I'm going to configure or use the commands in order to configure the topology. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create VLANs. So as you can see, the network, we have subnets here. We have the 192.168.10.0 subnet with its subnet mask, which is 255.255.255.192, and its own gateway. which is 192.168.10.662 and VLAN 10. All these devices here are going to make part of VLAN 10, and same thing is going to happen here and here for sure. And what I want to do first, I want to configure the VLANs, but I like to start by configuring the switch first. And the way I do that is I like to see the label on the ports. And for example, in this port, this computer is connected to the switch via this port, which is F01, and this computer is via F02. I like to see the label on the ports because the way I configure VLAN is the way I find to be the most effective way. So I like to configure it like this. So first of all, I'm going to use the command enable conf-t in order to get into the to this mode, the mode that is going to allow me to configure or to do the configurations. And I'm going to use the command interface range F0 slash 122, and then use the command switch port mode access in order to configure the port in the mode access. Then I'm going to use the command switch port access VLAN. Let me just see the VLAN 10. VLAN 10. Now that I've done that, as you can see, the information access VLAN does not exist. Creating VLAN, in this case 10. It means that this VLAN wasn't created in the switch. It's like it didn't exist yet, but by the time I basically entered two ports simultaneously, and I assigned these two ports at the same time to VLAN 10. Now this VLAN 10 is going to get created automatically in the switch. So that's the way I find to be more effective way in order to configure VLANs. So I'm going to do the same thing for other devices. I've configured the F01 and 2. Now I'm going to use the F03 and I think it is 4, F04, and assign them to VLAN let me see, VLAN 30. Yes. So now I'm going to use the command interface range F01, or now it's going to be F0324, and use the command switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 30, to assign them to VLAN 30. Now VLAN 30 is created, or is created automatically, and I'm going to use and now I'm going to come here and see the other ports labels. So as you can see, F05, F06, and F07. Now I'm going to do it like this. I forgot. Let me see that again. F05, 6, and 7. From 5 to 7. Excuse me, from 5 to 7. So interface range F05 to 7. This command is going to allow me to grab all these ports at the same time, to enter all these ports at the same time, and then assign this port to VLAN, or yes, assign them to VLAN. In this case, VLAN, let me see, 20. So now I'm going to do it like this. So I'm going to use the command switch port mode access in order to configure the port in the access mode, and then use the same command I'm using, switch port access VLAN, in this case 20. All right, so from here I've just configured the VLANs because I've got uh, 3 VLANs in this topology. As you can see, I've got VLAN 10, 30, and 20. So the other thing I didn't do, I forgot, I gotta also assign this port, the server port, or the port which the server is connected to in the switch, to the same VLAN, because the server is going to make part of this VLAN 20. So I'm also going to see, let me just see the label on the port, it's G02. Let me just drag it here and use the command int G0/2, and then use the command switch port mode access and switch port access VLAN 20. As you can see the difference, I just used int G02 because I don't want to enter to a range of ports. I just want to enter in, I just want to use one port. In this case, this is the port G02, and I am like in the G02 port, and I have assigned this port to VLAN 20. Now that I've configured the VLANs, I just gotta see, for example, maybe you were wondering, yes, but how do I know that I've done it like, well, it's working, the VLANs are actually created? So you just have to use this command, do show VLAN ref, which is the command that is going to allow you to see the configurations, the VLANs configurations on the switch. So now that as you can see here, I've got this field here, and I've got the VLAN, for example, ID, which is, for example, in this case VLAN 1. In the switch, this VLAN 1 is created, it's like the switch is, when you buy a switch, it's already created by default. Yes, it is the kind of VLAN that comes created by default on switches, right? And I've got, for example, VLAN, the ID is VLAN 10. That's the VLAN I've already created, VLAN 20 and VLAN 30. So the name of these VLANs are VLAN, for example, 0010, VLAN 0020, and VLAN 0030. Now, as you can see, the ports, because I've assigned the ports to their own VLANs, and as you can see, I've got F01 and F02 are assigned to VLAN 10, and F05 from 5 to 7 are assigned to VLAN 20. Even the G02, because this is the port where I've got the server connected to, and I've got the VLAN 30, and I've got these ports connected to or assigned to VLAN 30. Now that I've configured the VLAN, the other thing I gotta do, I have to configure this port here between the smooth layer switch and access layer switch. I got to configure this port in the trunk mode. So I'm going to go to the access layer switch, in this case the layer 2 switches, the layer 2 switch, and use the command interface G01. Let me just scroll down and use it like this, interface G01, and use the command switch port mode trunk. As you can see, interface gigabit Ethernet G01 changed state to up. Now the state is up. It means the trunk is already configured and it's working. As you can see, the port changed, the light on the port, like it switched from green to yes, it changed from from green to orange. And now that I've done that, the other thing I gotta configure, now I gotta go to the mode layer switch and configure the mode layer switch. So I just want to remind you that we are doing all these things because we want these computers to get connected together so that they can share information. I want to send, for example, some information from this computer to the to all these computers here in this topology. I want them to be able to communicate and share information without any problem. So that is why I'm doing all these configurations. For those of you guys who are starting for CCNA, and maybe you already know these things, maybe you already know how to configure, or even you don't know how to configure, but you know the concepts, like you know the VLAN, what is VLAN, what is interrouting, so what is DHCP, and all, even these things that I got here that are the process that a computer is going to have to go through until it receives an IP address, which is the discover message, offer, request, and acknowledgement, or ACK. And I'm going to explain it with a little bit or with more detail later, but let me just go to the configuration. So now that I've configured the layer 2 switch, I gotta go to configure the layer 3 switch, which is mode layer switch. So in the mode layer switch, I'm going to say no. Oh, I gotta drag it here. Yes, I'm in the command line of the mode layer switch. Now I just have to use the command enable config t. So what am I going to do here? What do I have to configure here? First, I have to configure all VLANs that I've configured in on the layer 2 switch. I've got to configure here. I'm not going to assign the ports because there is no computer connected to this switch here, but I've got to configure the VLANs. Why do I have to configure the VLANs? Why do I have to create the VLANs? I have to create the VLANs here because this mode layer switch is going to perform inter-VLAN routing. Inter-VLAN routing is a process whereby this switch, this mode layer switch, is going to take an information from one VLAN and pass or send this information to another VLAN. So to other VLAN, right? So I gotta do it like this. It's like the configurations that I have to do now here in the mode layer switch is the configuration that there is going to allow this switch, this mode layer switch, to perform inter-VLAN routing, because I don't want, I don't want these computers here that are in the same VLAN to communicate with each other only. I want them to communicate to other computers here, because I want them to be able to communicate with each other even though they don't make part of the same VLAN. They are not part of the same broadcast domain. So that is why I will have to configure the multi-layer switch here. So uh, all these configurations that I'm going to do here in the multi-layer switch, or on the multi-layer switch, I got to uh, are the configurations there are going to allow the switch, the multi-layer switch. This configuration is going to allow the multi-layer switch to uh, perform inter-VLAN routing, right? So as I said, the process of performing inter-VLAN routing is that this multi-layer switch is going to be able to uh, to send or forward any information that is coming from VLAN, for example, 10 to VLAN 30 or VLAN 30 to VLAN 20. That is why I've got to configure the multi-layer switch and use all these technologies. So now that I'm in the multi-layer switch, now that I'm on the multi-layer switch, I've got to do it like this. I've got to create first the VLANs. For example, VLAN 10, using the command VLAN 10. Now I gotta configure or create a VLAN 20 and the VLAN 30. Now that I've configured the VLANs, I've got to give or to create also SVIs. SVIs, which stands for switched virtual interface, which is a virtual interface on the switch that is going to be but basically it is going to be basically the file gateway for each subnet that I've got in this topology. Now I'm going to do it like this. Use the command int VLAN, for example 10. This command is going to allow me to create the interface or the virtual interface on the multi-layer switch. Now that I've configured, so I gotta give an IP address. I've got to assign an IP address to this interface, because this interface this virtual interface is going to represent the default gateway of VLAN. For example, let me see, it's VLAN 10. VLAN 10. All right, yes, VLAN 10. For VLAN 10, I've got this address here, which is the default gateway, and I'm going to use this address here. So I'm going to use IP address, and then I'm going to configure the IP address to assign the IP address 192.168.10.62, and then along with the mask 255.255.255 dot, let me just see the last octet, 192, right? 192. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing for VLAN, for example, VLAN, let me see, VLAN 20. I'm just going to use this command interface VLAN 20 to create the virtual interface, switched virtual interface, and then use the command IP address. I'm just going to change here the last octet. For VLAN 20, it is going to be 126, right? Enter. Now I gotta do the same thing for VLAN 30. IP address for VLAN 30. Let me just see. The default gateway of VLAN 30 is 190. Right. Now that I've done that, I've created the switched virtual interface and I've assigned IP address to these SVIs. So I gotta do it like this, and I gotta now I want to see if maybe that's the question you may ask. So Alair, how do I know that I've configured it and it's working well? So how do I see that the address that I've given to each SVI is configured properly on these SVI? So I just have to use the command to show IP interface brief. Now that I've configured, just show IP interface brief. Now that I've used this command, I can see the SVIs created and the IP addresses that I've assigned to these SVIs. All right. Now that I've configured the SVIs and I've also assigned the IP address to each SVI, I think we are almost good to go, right? Now I just have to use this command here to allow routing on the boot layer switch. Let me just do that to allow routing on the boot layer switch. So exit IP routing. All right. This is the command that is going to allow the routing on the on the mode layer switch. And the other thing I will have to configure here is I'm going to configure DHCP now on the server, because I want these devices to ask for IP address, and I want the DHCP server to allow or to give all these client machines an IP address. So I'm going to click on the server, come to configure first the server. No, I'm on the switch. I gotta use the server. Now it's here. Let me just drag it here. All right, go to desktop, and first of all I gotta configure the server manually because I want the server to be the DHCP server. It's the machine that is going to give addresses to other machines, and he's not going to, or it is not going to ask for IP address to any other machine, because it's the server. He's the one that is, or it's the one that is responsible to give IP address to the client machine. So 192.168.10. Let me see here. Right, it's prompting me an error because I didn't finish configuring the IP address. I just want to see what is the address that I'm going to give to the server. 192.168.10. Yes, it's going to be 65, right? 192.168.10.65, and then I'm going to use the subnet mask. Just going to change the last octet 192. The default gateway of this network is going to be the address that we gave to the multi-layer switch for uh, VLAN. Let me see, VLAN. It's VLAN 20. It's going to be .10.126. The DNS, I'm going to use the Google DNS 8.8.8.8. I've configured the server manually. Now that I've configured the server manually, I can now configure the DHCP service on the server. And here on the server, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna click here, DHCP, and turn on the service, which is DHCP. I've turned the DHCP service on, and here I'm going to use like when the machines are asking for IP addresses, are just they are just going to receive IP addresses? No, of course not. We can even give them, for example, the default gateway, the DNS, and the subnet mask, because these are information that all computers that make part of the same broadcast domain are going to have in common, right? Our computer are going to have this information in common. They're going to share this information. It's like the default gateway is going to be the same. The DNS is also going to be the same, and the subnet mask is also going to be the same. So here I'm going to put the gateway 192.168.10.126. DNS is going to be 8.8.8.8, and yes, I'm done configuring the DHCP pool. For those of you who don't know, DHCP pool, this pool is like a range or a group of addresses that are going to be given to given to all the devices that make part of the same subnet, which is the subnet, for example, for VLAN. Let me just say VLAN 20. So all these devices here are going to ask IP address to the server, and this server is going to provide an IP address to all of these machines, all of these client machines here. But the address the device is going to provide for them are just the address that are from this subnet, right? All these addresses are from this subnet, which is 192.168.10.64, right? I'm just going to click save to save the configurations, and now I gotta create another pool, and I'm going to give the name to this pool. I'm going to give a name to this pool, and the name is going to be VLAN 10, because the first pool I've created is for VLAN 20 and VLAN 10, and I'm going to change the addresses because they have different range of addresses. For VLAN 10, the default gateway is going to be, let me just see, for VLAN 10, the default gateway is going to be 62. The start IP address is going to be here in start IP address, which is the first address that is going to be given to the first device that is going to ask for an IP address. Of course, in this subnet, it's going to be 1 the subnet mask is going to be the same, and the DNS I'm going to use the same. Now I just gotta click to add. All right, and create another pool for VLAN, for example 20. The default gateway for VLAN 20 is going to be, no, it's for VLAN 30, because for VLAN 20 I've already configured. For VLAN 30, the IP, the gateway for VLAN 30 is going to be 190.190.190, and I'm going to start by giving the IP address 129, the range of the address, and then yes, I think I'm done. Yes, I'm just going to click add, and as you can see, I've got the 3 pools created already. So I've got the range of address that are going to be the range of address that is going to be given to the devices that are from VLAN, or from the from each subnet. Let me just say it like this: like I've got them 192.168.10.0 subnet, 192.168.10.64 subnet, and the 192.168.10.128 subnet. So each device is going to receive an IP address from their own subnet. Yes. Now that I've done that, I just think I gotta test. But there's something that is going to happen, but I'm not going to say that at first. Let me just go to the client machine. Yes, the machine here in the subnet 64, and ask for an IP address, and as you can see, it's going to work. It received 192.168.10.66, right? And the subnet mask, the default gateway, and the DNS server, right? But if I go to another machine and ask for an IP address, it's going to receive 67. I gotta go to the other machine, which is the last, and it's going to receive 68. All right, now the devices have received the IP address from the server. It's working for VLAN 20, but here is the thing. For the devices there are in VLAN 10, they receive the IP address automatically from the server because they are making part of the same broadcast domain. Like they are in the same room. Yeah, they are in the same room with the server. So that is why they are receiving the IP address. But these devices here are not in the same VLAN as the server. So that is why when they ask for IP address, let me just go and do that. They're not in the same broadcast domain. They're not part of the same broadcast domain because they're actually in different VLANs, right? So if I ask an IP address, it's going to take time, as you can see, and then we're gonna see this message here. DHCP failed. A pipa is being used. This pipa is some kind of address. There is pretty much different to the addresses we want these devices to receive. So actually the DHCP is not working. This device here is not receiving an IP address from the server. But where is the issue? The issue is here, as I was explaining. I was saying that these devices are configured to be part of VLAN 10, and these devices here are configured to be part of VLAN 20. So these devices are receiving IP address from the server because they are actually they make part of the same VLAN as the server, right? So that is why they are receiving the IP address. But these devices here, they are in a different VLAN. So that is why when they try to reach the server, they can't find the server. Why? Because they are in a different VLAN. But maybe you have thought, well, all layer, maybe I've just have to find a way to allow them to communicate to the server even though they are like in a different VLAN, so that I can solve this problem, because I just have to find a way to make these devices here uh, uh, able to communicate with the server, so this way they are going to receive IP address from the server. But how are you actually going to do that when the devices they don't have any IP address? How are they going to be able to communicate to the server? Actually, what is going on here is in the way the DHCP works. The DHCP is a service that we use in network when we want to configure or to allow the machines, the client machines in our network, to receive or to get IP address automatically from a DHCP server. So DHCP works this way. When a machine asks for an IP address in the network, this machine first of all is going to send a broadcast message. This broadcast message is the discover message, which is the message that is going to get sent to all devices in the same broadcast domain in order to reach or to try to find the DHCP server. It's like this device here is trying to reach the server, but this device sent a broadcast in the network trying to reach the server, like, hey guys, somebody told me that we got a server here that is going to provide me for an IP address, and I want this server here. Who is the server? This message is going to get sent to this message is going to get sent throughout the network, and the message throughout the network trying to reach the server. But this way the message is not going to reach the server because these devices are isolated to one specific room. We've created VLAN. VLAN, I want you to understand the VLAN as this specific room, this isolated room, which all just two devices make part of. So these two devices, PC5 and PC6, are isolated in one room, which we call by VLAN 10. So this room, the conversation, the message this device is sending in a broadcast, is just going to reach the PC6 and the switch, because I've also configured a virtual interface on the switch that is going to make part of this network. This way you can understand that in the room I've got three devices. I've got this PC5, PC6, and a half, I would like to say it like this, a half of switch, because the switch here is making part of these three subnets at the same time. The first virtual interface we configured, or the virtual interface we configured on the switch, and we gave the IP address of this subnet, is making part of this subnet. This is the part of the switch that is or like that makes part of this subnet. The other part of the switch is configured to be part of this subnet, because the SVI we created for switch, we for this the SVI we created on this switch is making part of this subnet. So we've created three SVIs, and the three SVIs are identifying or are configured to be part of each one of these subnets here. So this time, when I try to reach out, when I try to reach the server by sending a broadcast message trying to reach the server, I'm not finding the server because the server is not at the same room as I am, like this computer is saying. So that is why we cannot find it, because it's a broadcast message, and this broadcast message is just going to get flowed to this room. What is the room? The room that all these devices are making part of. So DHCP works like this: discover message, which is the broadcast message, then the offer, which is the message that is going to come from the server to the client that sent the first discover message, and then the request, that is the message that is going to go from the that is going to come from the client to the server, and then the server is going to give or to send the last message, which is the acknowledgement. But this time the device should have an IP address. So the HTTP works like this: the device first, the client machine sends a broadcast message, which we call by discover message. Then this discover message must reach first the server. Then the server is going to be the one that is going to answer, because if this server was configured to be part of VLAN 10, the message would going to get flowed for 4 devices. The message would get to come from this device to the switch. The switch would have flowed the message to would have loaded the message to all the devices that are in the same VLAN, the same room. But this time it would be this device and the server, because I just said as an example, if the server made part of this VLAN, and the only device that would not receive the same the broadcast is the device that sent the broadcast, right? So broadcast message is the kind of message that is going to get sent to all the devices in the same broadcast domain, except the device that sent it, right? So that is why these devices are not receiving IP address from the server. But in order to solve this problem, I just will have to configure to use a command here that is going to make the switch like send the information to the server. Like it's going to help the switch, is going to send the message. It's going to be a broadcast message, but this broadcast message is going to get forward as if it was a unicast message, which is a message from one device to another device, and this way the message is going to reach the server, and then the server is going to provide IP address for all these devices here. So I just have to do one last thing, which is configuring or solving this problem, because the devices are in VLAN 10 and 30 are not receiving or not going to receive IP addresses from the server unless I do this configuration. So I'm going to use the command conft. All right, enable first, then conft, and then int VLAN, for example, 10. Yes, VLAN 10. To enter the SVI on VLAN 10 and use the command IP helper, and then the IP address of the server 192.168.10. I think, let me just reconfirm the address I have given to the server. 65. And I'm just going to VLAN, for example, 20, and use the same command to the SVI on VLAN 20 and use the same command IP helper server. It's like help me, help the server. And I'm going to save the configurations. Now I'm going to try it again. I'm gonna try that again. All right. So let me just drag it here and try. Now it's working. As you can see, these devices from VLAN 10 are now receiving IP address from the server. The second one, and as you can see, they are receiving IP address, and these IP address are in the range of these subnets from 0, like the subnet is 0. The first device received 1.192.168.10.1. The second one received 192.168.10.2, and then the other one received it also received the subnet mask and the default gateway. As you can see, the default gateway is different comparing to the devices on VLAN. Comparing to these devices on VLAN 20. Just click here and drag it here. As you can see, the default gateway is 192.168.10.126. and then if I come here to the device in VLAN 10, it's going to be 192.168. Just do it here. Yeah, 192.168.10.62. Now it's time for the devices in VLAN 30 to ask and receive for IP address. Hey server, send me an IP address. Then the server is going to be like, no. Why is it not working here? What's the problem? Why is it not working here? We got a problem, and we gotta solve this problem. Let me just try to do the same thing here. Maybe the other one will receive. And no. for VLAN 30. Did I use this command in VLAN 30 or 20? Maybe I've confused the things. Let me just go interface VLAN 20. Yes, this command shouldn't be configured in this SVI because the devices in VLAN 20 are already receiving the IP address from the server. So I just have to go interface VLAN 30 and then use this command, IP helper, right? And then try to ask for an IP address again. Now, as you can see, it's working. All right. All right. Cool. Now, let me just test the network, test it out. I'm going to filter for ICMP because I want to see the multi-layer switch doing the inter routing because I want to send an information from this computer to this to one of these computers here or even one of these computers here. The point is I want to send an information from one subnet to another subnet and see how the switch is going to deal with that, the multi-layer switch. So I just go to this device here. Let me just see drag it here and click here and use the command ping of I'm using the simulation mode, ping. I don't know the address here. Let me just see. 29. Yes. 192.168.10.129 and click enter. As you can see, the message is now ready to go. I'm going to click play and we're gonna see the message is now in the switch. The first message is going to fail because of the ARP. Let me just do the same thing again. I'll just drag it here. As you can see, it worked. But I'm going to do that again and wait. Now, as you can see, you can follow the packet getting sent throughout the network. It's now on the multi-layer switch. The multi-layer switch did the inter-VLAN routing and then is going to send to another device. As you can see, if the information is coming from one subnet to another subnet, this information first must get to the multi-layer switch in order to do the inter-VLAN routing. So then the multi-layer switch is going to send to the layer 2 switch, and then the layer 2 switch is going to deliver or send the message to the destination machine, destination host. So what if I try to send an information from devices that are in the same subnet? This message is also going to have to reach or to arrive at the multi-layer switch? Of course not, because that's not a multi-layer switch business. it's just the layer 2 switch business. So I'm going to test it out. Let me just see the address on this device here. It's .1. So I just need to see, just needed to see the address on this device. And from this device, I'm going to use the command ping 192.168.10.1. Click enter. No, 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 no. I don't want the message to go from this machine to the other. I've confused the things. Yeah, but I gotta do that here because now this message that is getting sent is from this device. This is from a device that is in VLAN in the subnet 64 to the subnet 0, and as you can see, there's why the message had to go through the multi-layer switch, because these are communication between devices that are in different subnets. So that is why it gotta go through the multi-layer switch. But I don't want the message to go through the multi-layer switch because I want to send a message from one device that is in for example VLAN 20 to another device that is in VLAN 20. So I'm going to do it quick because of the length of the video. So I'm going to send the message to the server, and as you can see, the message is going to go to the layer 2 switch, and the layer 2 switch is going to send the information to the server without having to send the same information to the multi-layer switch. Now, as you can see, we're using these access layer switch in order to maintain all these devices here connected together in the same network, but we're using the multi-layer switch in order to allow or to perform the inter-VLAN routing, that is the process of sending an information from one subnet to another subnet, from one VLAN to another VLAN. So guys, that's all I wanted to show you. That's all I wanted to configure for this video. If you like video like this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit on the like button, leave some comments, some suggestions or something there. And yes, that's all for this lab, and thank you.